Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And as we all know, and especially those in South Africa have experienced, when there's rioting or protesting, the roads tend to become involved and are often blocked. And there's a huge difference between one section of the community when they go out and they've got a gripe. They go and riot, they go and loot, they go and burn tires, they go and burn cars, they just cause chaos for everybody else. That's one section of the community. And then you've got the other section of the community, which is the brown people who are in Cape Town. And when they protest, they do it peacefully. And they are going to be holding a protest in Cape Town on the 25th of September. And the total shutdown movement will be protesting again on September the 25th, which will affect major arterial roads in the Cape Town metro from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. because none of their demands have been met a year later. When asked how it will differ from the shutdown staged by pressure group Gatvol Capetonian across the city of August 8th, which was chiefly about housing issues and led to sporadic violence, one of the organizers, Nadia Mayman de Grasse, told the Cape Times on Wednesday there won't be any burning tires, there won't be any throwing stones. So that's a peaceful protest. She said, "We will be attempting to close arterial roads such as the M7, Jakes Gerwel, the Stellenbosch Arterial, Valhalla Drive and Voortrekker Road from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the 25th of September. Because it seems there is no other way the government is going to listen to us except when we affect business." That's a tragedy. The government in South Africa are completely incompetent. Another of the organizers, Abdul Karim Matthews, said on social media, "The primary reason for the shutdown is that for an entire year, national government, provincial government and local government have refused to accept and act on our demands. Instead, at a national level, they have given us a completely ineffective AGU, or anti-gang unit, and an even more useless South African National Defence Force deployment, the latter at a cost of 23 million rand, along for a 2-month deployment. By extending the deployment to March 2020, it will cost an additional 138 million rand. At local government level, our law enforcement officers and Metro Police issue fines to the homeless and protect the rich and the tourists. The AGU and the SANDF has to date not arrested and prosecuted one major gang leader or drug lord, let alone all of them. With more than 150,000 gang members, all armed, we're in fact facing a low-intensity war waged by what constitutes an armed militia terrorizing working-class communities." De Grasse said the mortuaries are filled to capacity and our hospitals are practicing battlefield medicine as if we're in a combat zone. "The army doesn't have a mandate to arrest crime in our areas. What they are doing is they are escorting the South African Police Service. There has been no operation of note from the army. We haven't seen any lockdown. The army has overstepped their bounds as well because they have physically attacked some of our people, and that is not what we wanted." De Grasse couldn't confirm whether anyone has laid charges against the SANDF. She said, "They have road closures, but it doesn't make any difference, and the government is wasting money, and our Premier, Alan Wind, has no mandate from the people to ask for the redeployment of the army because they don't consult communities. The army is only focusing on the hotspot crime areas. They are in Bonteheuwel for 3 hours, and then they move to another area." Another of the demands on the memorandum was for a large-scale public works program. "Our people can be employed on a decent wage," De Grasse said. "Crime is not only a policing issue, we are also talking about a socio-economic issue that needs to be addressed if we want to get rid of crime. We're talking about inequality, unemployment, the trauma our working class communities are suffering, the gender-based violence that has been highlighted of late, which happens on a daily basis." Now, of course, central to all this is that racist ANC employment policy called BEE. You know, it is just a complete, it is, and I've said so many times on this channel, it is destroying South Africa. Anyway, she goes on to say, half the cases aren't reported and don't make the front page of newspapers. We're talking about rape cases. It doesn't just affect the middle class of students, it affects working class communities as well. We would like middle class communities to come out and support us in our plight, because it's a genocide that is going on in working class communities. Departments aren't speaking to each other, and there is no holistic plan to get rid of crime. Instead, they want to put plasters on festering wounds. Police Minister Becky Cele came to Bonteheuvel last year and made a whole lot of promises. They didn't even work on our memorandum on what we are asking for. This year, we have also seen the activation of crime, with local government wanting to further populate our areas. They are talking away our open spaces, and they don't give a damn about what is happening in the communities. Matthews addressed the concerns of motorists desperately trying to get to work during the shutdown, posting on Facebook, some will say, hey, what about our jobs? Matthew went on to say, no boss can fire you for arriving late at work, so that is a non-argument. The working class get robbed and killed daily to and from their places of work. What about school? It's school holidays, so bring your children with you to the shutdown. What about hospital appointments? We will ensure that people with hospital appointments are allowed safe passage. On what their response would be if their memorandum is ignored again, de Grasse said, one of the women in a meeting made a very apt description, saying, comrades, don't forget that this is a marathon that we are running, and the 25th of September is the first water point. She said, we will go back to the drawing board if nothing happens, and we will come up with a new plan. The total shutdown movement's full statement reads, stop the gender-based violence, stop the crime in our communities, shut down your area on 25th of September 2019. The current spate of gender-based violence, especially on the Cape Flats, has managed to galvanize our communities across the race and class divide. The brutal murders of 2 university students, Uneneni Mragwatiatana and Jesse Hess, ensured that Cape Town was flooded with protest actions for the bigger part of the last few weeks. Our people united, yet we need that same kind of unity to fight crime and poverty as well. As a total shutdown communities, we have spearheaded projects during the course of last year, culminating in Hanover Park, Bonteheuvel, Kensington, Factorton, Bishop Lavis, Nyanga, Langa, as well as Ottery and Manenberg, either having full-scale shutdowns or a limited shutdown in terms of a picket protest on the 25th of September 2018. This resulted in the Minister of Police meeting with us on 2 occasions. We also had talks with the Human Rights Commission. Sadly, our protest actions had limited intervention from the state, except for the establishment of the anti-gang unit with limited success. Our demands remain unanswered. We therefore extend an invitation to all fraternal organizations leading in their respective communities to attend a planned meeting on Wednesday the 18th of September at 6:30 p.m. at Voorspoort Primary School. Now, this is obviously a couple of days old, but they apparently held a meeting. Now, what is interesting, the demands. But before we actually look at those demands, the point is made that not one gang leader has been arrested. Not one. Not one. Despite the police presence, despite the army being there, no one has been arrested. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, the demands of the total shutdown group are: 1. We call for an end to the deployment of the SANDF in our areas. 2. We call for immediate deployment of permanent base camps in all hot zones. 3. We call for the immediate deployment of tactical response units in all the hot zones. 4. We call for the immediate reallocation of South African police service from the rich suburbs and to be allocated to the hot zones. 5. We call for the immediate deployment of law enforcement and metro police to the hot zones. 6. we demand a mass public works program at a living wage, as unemployment, poverty and inequality creates a breeding ground for organized crime. And that's a really good point. 7, we call for the building of drug rehabilitation centers in our communities, especially for our youth from crippling substance abuse addiction. 8, we call for an army of social workers, more teachers, community sports and skills development centers. 9, we demand that the Western Cape be declared a disaster area and that all required human and material resources be utilized to better the lives of the working class. And lastly, 10, we demand police protection for train commuters as well as police presence along taxi routes and reassuring safety measures at bus and taxi ranks. Now, what's interesting about this is that Black Monday have an action in the court calling for exactly the same thing, calling for the Cape Flats to be recognized as a disaster area. In closing, the group say our communities are reeling under crime and violence. We need to register our protest action as the only way in which the government will pay attention to our dire plight. We have had meetings with them, and as yet nothing has happened. A working class united can never be defeated. So there you go. I mean, I can fully understand why they're holding this protest, and I know it's going to be really annoying for people who live in Cape Town, but you can understand when the government just completely ignores their request and they just sit on their hands. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, and above all, stay safe. Bye for now.